Hello, my name is Amir Asambaigi, and today I'll be talking about food etiquette in Korean culture. The cultural and historical background of Korea and its culture is very interesting. Confucianism is related to is related to the history of Korean food culture. Confucianism was brought from Han China around the 3rd to 7th century during the Joseon dynasty, which is remarked as Korea's most culturally significant era. Confucianism influenced governance and family life, which is crucial in Korean dining. It included giving lots of respect and obedience to elders, children prioritizing their parents' needs, extended family living together, and wives honoring their husbands. Korean families live in a hierarchy, and it translates to food culture. Sharing food was also related to Confucian values, as it showed a sense of community and respect. Banchan, which was invented around 300 AD, are vegetable-based side dishes that were always shared among the table, but that'll be more talked about on later. The vast difference between Korean culture and Western culture is that one thing is um, Korean food is based on community and sharing dishes, whereas Western culture is based on individual dishes, and that's a huge difference. And that's a difference that really caught my attention and my liking towards Korean culture because it's just interesting to see different cultures like that where sharing dishes is very important, it's part of the meal, and I like how it's very intertwined and how there's family values also part of the eating experience in Korea. A little bit about geography and climate. Food is somewhat based on the season. For example, in the winter, Koreans indulge mainly in fish, like yellowfish. It is said that yellowfish are the fattiest during the winter, so that's why they're so good to eat. Korean valleys include foods like rice, beans, and vegetables, and Korean mountains include mushrooms and wild plants, and this is due to their location and geography. Fermentation also plays a role in this. Um, Koreans mastered fermentation, which has benefits of better flavor to food and longer storage. Some popular fermented foods include kimchi, which are fermented vegetables, and jang, which are fermented soybean. Essential Korean dining etiquette. First and foremost, eldest must sit first and may also eat first. As mentioned before, elders are given the most respect, and so Korean dining etiquette means that the eldest sit first. This act shows humbleness to the elders, and it's also crucial that the elders take a bite of their food first before anyone else does. Guests should wait to be seated by the host. In Korean culture, there's sort of an assignment of where people should sit. Elders must be seated first, and they always sit further away from the door, while the youngest or lower ranked guests must sit nearest to the door or exit. Chopsticks must be used for side dishes and meat, while spoons must be used for rice and soup. Other cultures like Chinese and Japanese culture use chopsticks for rice. However, the spoon is more effective in Korean culture. Usually, eating rice with chopsticks requires one to lift the bowl from the table, but that is considered rude in Korean culture. Also, Koreans mainly use metal chopsticks. While the origin of chopsticks did come from China, metal chopsticks were around during the Goryeo dynasty, which was around 918 AD, and were a sign of wealth. And it was said that these chopsticks were used by Korean royalty to detect poison in their food. Nowadays, metal chopsticks are used for hygienic reasons, as well as for heat resistance and durability. It's also important to note that it is rude to point chopsticks at people and to not put chopsticks upright in your rice bowl, as that is related to a funeral ritual and can be seen as bad luck and disrespectful. It's also important to keep your rice bowl to the left over soup bowl. Pour drinks for elders using both hands. It's also etiquette for the younger person to pour drinks for the elder. It's also important to never pour your own drink. And it's also important to slightly turn your head away from the elderly when drinking alcohol, as this is a sign of respect, consideration, and humbleness. It's also crucial for the elderly to drink first before anyone else can. More about essential Korean dining etiquette. Take small portions at a time. It's important. It's important to be mindful than anything. Korean food is encouraged to be eaten in small portions while being shared with banchan as well. And these are also, as mentioned earlier, are dishes that are side dishes which should be shared within the table. Along with that, sharing in general is also key in Korean etiquette. So that's why it's good to get a little bit of everything so others can enjoy it too. It's also polite to eat at the same pace as everybody else. Don't reach across the table for food. Ask politely for the food. I feel like this is common courtesy in general, but it's still important to remember this rule. Always ask for people to pass down food for you if it's too far from reach. Place utensils neatly. Do not leave them in a bowl. Make sure to show appreciation for the host. Again, this is another sign of respect that's constantly shown in Korean food culture etiquette. Allow elders to leave the table first after a meal. This is also common courtesy in Korean culture. Modern adaptations and global influence. Younger generations are more flexible in etiquette nowadays. It mainly comes from older generations not passing down those traditions to younger generations. It's important to have a sense of this etiquette though, as it is deeply rooted in Korean culture and history. Korean food and drink like Korean barbecue and soju are popularized around the world, which introduces Korean values and etiquette. I personally experienced this as I adore Korean food, as going to Korean restaurants helps me learn about Korean culture and values, which is something I'm truly grateful for. Some other facts about etiquette. Do not be distracted while eating, which means no phone, no TV, no laptops or whatever like that. It's important to be present at the dinner table or at your meal and to talk with people at the table. And personally for me, that's something I find very important, especially eating at Korean restaurants outside with friends, family. That value of connecting with them over food is truly something that's important and rooted deeply in Korean culture. Also, avoid slurping. It's very important to not slurp because that will come off as rude, along with blowing your nose at the dinner table. Do not do that, as that is also very rude and disrespectful. It is always best to do that in the bathroom. In conclusion, Korean food etiquette stems from Confucianism. Confucianism is huge in family hierarchy, influencing governance and family life. As mentioned before, elderly people must be seated at the table first. They must be the first ones to eat. They must be the last ones to leave the table. They must be poured drinks. And young people must turn away from them when drinking. This shows respect to them in the hierarchy. And also, Korean food culture is fun. It's a nice experience to have this kind of uh culture where sharing food and being present together, it's very fun. It's something you don't do all the time. Western culture really does not really have this kind of experience for us. And it's good how Korean culture and food has globalized around the world, and we are able to enjoy Korean culture. And personally, for me, I would like to one day go to South Korea and personally experienced these because it is just truly just awesome to see family being intertwined with food and the types of etiquette and courtesy that is shown in Korean culture. And with that, thank you very much for listening to my presentation.